Imagine being one of fewer than 150 soldiers, standing shoulder to shoulder against an army of over 4,000 fierce warriors, armed with nothing but your rifles and hastily prepared defenses. This is the unimaginable situation the British defenders faced during the Battle of Rorke's Drift in 1879. Outnumbered by a staggering margin, the soldiers at this tiny mission station in southern Africa braced themselves for what seemed like certain death. Yet against all odds, they held the line, repelling wave after wave of Zulu attackers. But how did they manage it? What tactics or strategies could possibly allow such a small force to withstand an onslaught from one of the most formidable fighting forces of the 19th century? And who were the key players whose actions turned this battle into a legendary stand? In this video, we will dive deep into the Battle of Rorke's Drift, exploring the background of the Anglo-Zulu War, the tense moments leading up to the fight, and the acts of heroism that defined this incredible victory. By the end, you'll understand why this battle continues to be celebrated as a symbol of courage and resilience. To fully grasp the events at Rorke's Drift, we must first understand the Anglo-Zulu War's context. The war was born from British imperial ambitions to expand their control in southern Africa, where they sought land, resources and dominance over the powerful Zulu kingdom. By the 1870s, the British had consolidated power over much of the surrounding territory, but the Zulu kingdom, under King Cetshwayo Kampande, remained a formidable force. The Zulus were known for their highly disciplined warriors, whose traditional fighting methods had been honed through decades of warfare. Under previous kings, such as the legendary Shaka Zulu, the Zulu army was a well-organized and fearsome fighting force, deeply committed to defending their land. Their fighting techniques, especially the famous buffalo horns formation, allowed them to outflank and envelop their enemies, despite being armed primarily with spears, or assegai, and cowhide shields. Their tactics had earned them victories over rival tribes and colonial forces. Tensions escalated in 1878 when the British, under Sir Henry Bartle Frere, issued an ultimatum to King Cetshwayo. The demands were clear but impossible for the Zulu kingdom to accept. They were to disband their army, give up their independence, and submit to British rule. Cetshwayo, fiercely proud of his people and unwilling to sacrifice their autonomy, rejected the ultimatum. The British, confident in their technological superiority, saw this rejection as an act of defiance. In early 1879, war broke out between the two nations. At first, the British were certain of a swift victory. Armed with rifles and artillery, they believed that their firepower would easily decimate the Zulu warriors, who fought with spears and shields. However, the Zulu army's strength lay in its numbers, discipline, and tactics. This was clearly demonstrated on January 22, 1879, at the Battle of Isandlwana. Here, more than 1,300 British soldiers were encircled and slaughtered by a Zulu force of around 20,000 warriors, in what became one of the worst defeats in British military history. The news of Isandlwana sent shockwaves through the British Empire. A force that was expected to crush the Zulus with ease had been utterly destroyed, with morale shattered and their military plans in disarray. The British defenders at the nearby Rorke's Drift outpost found themselves in the direct path of a victorious Zulu force. Unlike Isandlwana, Rorke's Drift had fewer than 150 soldiers, but this small group of men quickly fortified their position and braced for an attack. As the Zulu warriors, more than 4,000 strong, advanced toward Rorke's Drift, the stage was set for one of history's most iconic defensive stands. Rorke's Drift was not a military fort or even a major strategic outpost. It was a small mission station on the Buffalo River, primarily used as a supply depot during the Anglo-Zulu War. But in the hours leading up to the battle, this modest location would become the setting for an extraordinary defense. The defenders, fewer than 150 in total, were a mix of regular British soldiers, members of the 24th Regiment of Foot, and a few hospital patients who were too ill or injured to fight. Despite their low numbers, their courage and discipline would soon turn them into legends. At the head of the defense were two key figures: Lieutenant John Chard of the Royal Engineers and Lieutenant Gonville Bromhead of the 24th Regiment. Chard, a relatively junior officer, happened to be at Rorke's Drift purely by chance, overseeing the construction of a pontoon bridge nearby. Bromhead, although technically higher in rank, deferred command to Shah, as the defense of the station was largely an engineering challenge, with hastily constructed barricades of mealie bag and biscuit boxes, serving as the only protection against the approaching Zulu force. The defenders also included Surgeon James Henry Reynolds, who played a crucial role in tending to the wounded during the battle, often under heavy fire. His tireless efforts kept many men alive, despite the chaos of battle all around. His actions, along with those of the other officers, would later be recognized with the Victoria Cross, Britain's highest military honor for gallantry. When news of the British disaster at Isandlwana reached Rorke's Drift, panic quickly spread. The small garrison knew that a Zulu force would soon arrive at their position, and with so few defenders, their chances of survival seemed slim. Despite this grim outlook, the British soldiers immediately set about fortifying the station. They used whatever materials were at hand, creating barricades out of mealie bags filled with grain, biscuit boxes and furniture. Even the mission hospital, which would soon see some of the fiercest fighting, was reinforced as best as possible. Defensive firing positions were established, allowing the defenders to cover each approach. As night fell on January 20, 1879, the defenders waited nervously for the arrival of the Zulu warriors. Many of the men, aware of the fate that had befallen their comrades at Isandlwana, must have doubted their chances of survival. Yet despite the odds, no one considered retreat. They were prepared to fight to the last man. The mood was somber but resolute, as the defenders knew that the coming hours would test their courage, discipline, and will to survive. As night set in on January 22, 1879, the Zulu army approached Rorke's Drift, eager to build on their victory at Isandlwana. With the mission station dimly illuminated by fires and lanterns, the British defenders could hear distant war cries and rhythmic chanting echoing through the dark. Known for their fierce determination and iron discipline, the Zulu warriors closed in with confidence, driven by a deep commitment to defend their homeland from British incursion. The first assault began suddenly with a concentrated charge on the British perimeter. The Zulu warriors, advancing in tightly coordinated waves, wielded traditional assegai spears and large cowhide shields, closing the distance swiftly. The British defenders responded with synchronized volleys of rifle fire, their discipline keeping the front lines from breaking. Despite the withering fire, the Zulu warriors pressed on, determined to breach the barricades and overwhelm the defenders. One of the fiercest scenes took place at the mission hospital, where Zulu warriors breached the walls, and brutal hand-to-hand combat ensued within the cramped rooms. British defenders, many of whom were already injured, fought back with bayonets and improvised weapons. Private John Williams became one of the night's heroes, dragging wounded comrades to safety, while fending off attackers who had managed to infiltrate the building. Outside, Lieutenant Chard and Lieutenant Bromhead coordinated the defense with remarkable composure. Amidst the chaos, they directed rifle fire towards strategic points, where Zulu warriors threatened to breach the barricades, urging their men to stand firm. As the British defenders continued to hold back wave after wave of attackers, each Zulu assault seemed stronger than the last, testing the defenders' stamina as the hours stretched on. By the early hours of the morning, exhaustion had set in among the British troops. Supplies were running low and ammunition was nearly depleted. With makeshift defenses weakening, the defenders braced for a final wave. However, as dawn began to break, the intensity of the Zulu attacks finally subsided, recognizing that they could no longer overcome the defenders. The remaining Zulu warriors gradually withdrew. Against unimaginable odds, the defenders at Rorke's Drift had survived the night. The Battle of Rorke's Drift wasn't just a test of endurance. It was a display of exceptional heroism and strategic improvisation under fire. Throughout the night, individuals on both sides of the barricades performed acts of remarkable bravery, and the British defenders relied on quick thinking to withstand the overwhelming Zulu assaults. One of the most extraordinary moments occurred at the mission hospital, where a small group of soldiers defended their wounded comrades against relentless Zulu attacks. Private John Williams, stationed at a window in one of the hospital rooms, single-handedly held back the attackers until he ran out of ammunition. As the Zulus breached the hospital walls, Williams didn't abandon his post. Instead, he used a bayonet to protect the wounded, dragging several injured men to safety under heavy fire. His relentless courage saved lives, embodying the selflessness seen throughout the night. Another remarkable figure was Surgeon James Henry Reynolds. Though unarmed, he moved constantly between barricades, tending to the wounded under heavy fire. Reynolds risked his life repeatedly, knowing that his attention might make the difference between life and death for the injured soldiers. His dedication to his comrades would later earn him the Victoria Cross, Britain's highest military honor. Lieutenants Chard and Bromhead, the officers in charge, played equally critical roles in coordinating the defense. They understood that the defenders had to maintain a controlled rate of fire to conserve ammunition, which was quickly dwindling as the battle wore on. The two officers established a system where soldiers would take turns firing and reloading. This tactic of regulated volleys created the illusion of a larger force, slowing the Zulu advances and buying precious time. The British defenders also used the barricades strategically, firing through gaps and moving to higher ground when possible to gain the upper hand. They adapted to the situation in real time, sealing off points where Zulu warriors breached the defenses and redirecting their limited manpower to critical areas. This ability to adjust tactics quickly was crucial, as each Zulu charge seemed more intense than the last. As dawn finally broke, the defenders were battered, exhausted, and low on ammunition. However, they had managed to hold their ground, thanks to their disciplined use of tactics and the courageous actions of individuals. The Battle of Rorke's Drift became not only a testament to military endurance. As dawn broke over Rorke's Drift, the British defenders could finally take stock of the night's events. Against overwhelming odds, fewer than 150 British soldiers had held off an estimated 4,000 Zulu warriors. The battle left the mission station battered and bloodstained, with debris scattered across the ground and the barricades in ruins. Of the British defenders, 17 were killed and many more wounded. The Zulu forces, meanwhile, suffered heavy losses, with over 350 warriors killed and many more injured. The bravery displayed at Rorke's Drift did not go unnoticed. 11 Victoria Crosses were awarded to the defenders, a record for a single engagement in British military history. This remarkable feat of endurance and resilience quickly became a symbol of British fortitude, celebrated in newspapers, and lauded as one of the British Army's proudest moments. Yet the legacy of Rorke's Drift is complex. For the Zulu people, the battle was a chapter in a broader struggle against colonial forces, part of the resistance to British expansion into their lands. The bravery shown by the Zulu warriors is also remembered, underscoring the fierce resistance they mounted in the face of modern weaponry. The Battle of Rorke's Drift stands as one of the most iconic defensive stands in military history. Against overwhelming odds, a small group of British soldiers held their ground, relying on courage, discipline, and tactical ingenuity to repel an assault by a vastly larger force. Their victory became a powerful symbol of resilience and fortitude, celebrated in British history and remembered as a testament to the bravery of all involved. But this battle was more than a story of British valor. It was also a testament to the fierce resistance of the Zulu warriors, who fought for their land and heritage against a formidable, better-armed foe. In honoring this battle, we recognize the courage and sacrifice on both sides. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this look into one of history's lesser-known legendary battles, please consider subscribing to our channel. We'd love to hear your thoughts. So leave a comment below about what you found most compelling. And don't forget to like this video for more captivating stories from history. This is History Replay, this day.